Oh, pleasant good evening and welcome to those of you who are watching preseason action between the Heat and the Cavs. Good one there down in Brazil to get you ready for NBA action. UConn and Tulane here at Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans. The opening drive here for the Huskies continues. Pass dumped off to Deshaun Fox, the senior who picks up 7. Mike Cousins, Brian Kinchin, glad to have you along tonight as these two teams both look for their first conference win of the year. They were both off last week, so Brian, very eager for both of these squads to get back to action, especially with how hungry they are.
Well, without a doubt, and defensive coordinator Lionel Washington said they had their best 2 weeks of practice defensively. We're seeing them do different things. They're sitting back in zone. They're bringing those linebackers. They're expecting run, but UConn is doing the other. They're putting the ball in the air early, which is what they need to do.
Back to Newsome, who cuts inside. And not much room to run. Grabbed right at the line of scrimmage by Edward Williams along that linebacking core. And this drive is already spanning 6.5 minutes.
Well, that's where Tulane has their strength in the middle. Corey Redwine and Tanzel Smart, those big 300-pounders in the middle. They're not going to let those UConn running backs in the middle. But on the edge is where Tulane has always been vulnerable. Even back against Georgia Tech, they have a hard time of keeping the run inside. They are vulnerable out on the edges, even in the passing game. And when they're in zone coverage, I think they do a better job of covering those zones. But manned up, they have trouble defending the outside edge.
Ron Johnson, the deep back. Alec Bloom, the highly touted freshman, at the fullback spot. And that goes nowhere. Tulane was all over the third down run by UConn. Nico Marley leading the charge.
Well, I don't like the call. It's just their standard lead play. Tulane's expecting that. They need to be able to run the slow screen, even the draw, spread them out, make them think they're going to throw the football, run the draw, thin out Tulane's defense in the middle. They can't expect on 3rd and 3 to be able to get those runs with just running lead. Tulane has too much size in the middle to be able to do that.
Bobby Puyol on for the field goal try. 1 of 2 last week, 6 of 7 for the season. 44-yard kick. And UConn in the first quarter is on the board. A long drive for the Huskies, but it pays off with 3 in the bank. Nearly 8 minutes on the opening drive for UConn and a 3-0 lead for the Huskies as you're watching the American Conference on ESPN. Glad to have you along a beautiful Saturday night here in New Orleans, the home of Curtis Johnson, out his 3rd year. Here is the head coach of the Green Wave, 10-20 record thus far for the 52-year-old, who spent 6 years as the wide receivers coach with the New Orleans Saints before taking over this job. Graduate of the University of Idaho. So UConn set to kick it away. Both of these teams, if you're just joining us, looking for their first conference win of the year. Tulane 0-1 in the American, and the Huskies 0 up and 2 down. Dontrell Hilliard on the return out to the 20-yard line, and down he goes for a return of 17. And that opens up the offense, Brian, for a look at a bit of a different quarterback than Green Wave fans have been used to seeing.
Yeah, Nick Montana, he was their starter all last year. This year they decided to go with Tanner Lee, a young redshirt freshman. He struggled quite a bit, got injured in their last ball game, and him along Devin Powell and Nick Montana came in relief, and they decided to go with Nick as the starter. He was 5 for 5 in that last game, and I think they're looking for a little more consistency now that Tanner is a little banged up.
On first down, he hands it off. Sherman Beatty, the freshman, with a first down, and ahead to the 35 for a gain of 15 for the star running back out of Metairie, Louisiana.
Well, Bob Bianco talked about the uniqueness of his defense. They run that 3-down look. It's very similar to the way the Patriots run it. It's very tough. It puts a high demand on those defensive tackles to be able to play that 2-gap technique, and it's very vulnerable to the run. They started off tonight, though, in their 4-down looks, so they should be better at defending the run, but obviously not right there, Mike.
The Huskies bring 4 on the Tulane first down. Montana with a read underneath. Gets the completion and finds his running back Dontrell Hilliard. And they're certainly not afraid to use a multifaceted attack out of the backfield. On these first 3 plays here, we've seen Beatty, then Hilliard, and now Beatty back onto the field. And there is Tanner Lee, the redshirt freshman from Destrehan, Louisiana, who left in the second quarter 2 weeks ago in their loss at Rutgers. And if you followed the squad over the last couple of weeks, even through their off week, it was a bit of a guessing game whether it would be Lee, Montana, maybe Powell, who you mentioned earlier. But ultimately they go with the guy with the most experience. Back to Beatty, another first down for Tulane.
And this is what Bob Diaco, the head coach for UConn, was afraid of. They have 3 young running backs and they can switch them in and out. They also have 3 young wide receivers. They have potent weapons that are very young, but they're very, very dangerous. And we see Beatty there. He seems to be getting the ball a little more than normal. The most he's carried the football in any football game this year has been 15 times, but he's obviously on a much higher pace right now.
First down and 10, Montana for play action. Into the flat for Butler. He's got room to run up the sideline. Back-to-back first downs. That's a scamper of 17 for the New Orleans native.
Well, and I'm a sucker for the slow screen here. They run the lead screen. It's even trickier because they've got to defend run, then pass, then screen. They do a great job of executing. It's something I haven't seen from Tulane's offense. I think it's something that they've been missing, and I'm glad to see them implementing it in the offense tonight.
Quite a contrast from that drive by the Huskies to open things up. Nearly 8 minutes. They only went about 40 yards. And now right on the doorstep of the red zone. Montana all sorts of time. Over the middle. Pass complete. And all the way down inside the 10-yard line. They move the chains again. The first catch for their leading receiver, Justin Shackelford.
Well, I really like this throw. I like this play. This straight drop back. Great job up front by the offensive line. The dig route about 15 yards down the field to his go-to guy, Justin Shackelford, who is the leader in receptions. And we see why right there.
Plenty of options as they get in the red zone. Lezedrick Thompson, the running back. 4 wide receivers. Montana across the middle. And a catch is made for a Tulane touchdown. Charles Jones, the freshman tight end.
Well, Jones had a touchdown at the start of the season in the opener versus Tulsa. Very similar type play. Only difference is they were at depth in the gun, but play action. Like to see the tight end getting involved early in the game. This is just a freshman now, Jones is, and one of 2 freshmen at tight end that play pretty regularly.
Quick strike drive there for Tulane. That was a low snap, but nicely picked up by Peter Piccarelli, and Andrew DeRocco knocks it through. Second touchdown catch of the year for Charles Jones. Tulane up by 4. Back at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans, Mike Cousins, Brian Kinchin, glad to have you along. Arkel Newsome not getting the carries here on the first play of this drive, but certainly Bob Diaco will look to him quite a bit, as the coach of the Huskies told us that it'll be Newsome and Johnson, their 2 freshman running backs, that are going to get a good load of the carries today.
Yeah, really likes what he sees in them. Obviously, they're young. They don't know what to do in certain situations, certain plays, so he's giving them what they can handle. And hopefully we'll be able to see them early carrying the football and trying to help this offense convert.
On first down, Newsome stopped in the backfield, loss of 3 as he's ripped down from Brandon LeBeau.
Well, we could put anybody in the backfield on this one, Mike, and they're not going anywhere. Tulane is doing a good job of scraping, sealing up the holes. They're playing a 1-gap defense, which is what a 7-man front is, and when you can't find one of those gaps, no matter how great your vision is as a running back, it's hard to gain yards.
Significant the change here at running back for UConn, because Max DiLorenzo, the redshirt junior from Connecticut, had started the first 5 games, but Diaco said a little bit different. Give it to some stronger runners. That stopped in the backfield, and Demir Bradley had cement around his ankles before he caught the ball.
Trying to get the ball out wide to their wide receivers, but again, when you don't have anybody blocking, it's very difficult to convert. Good job of converting on the pass, but negative yardages don't help them, and now they're in really an impossible situation. I'm looking for them to go with the slow screen. Running back, it's a tough task getting 15 yards when you can't protect up front very consistently.
Tulane brings pressure. They go over the middle, and they don't get the first down. Back to Bradley, the sophomore again. He's already matched his total from last game with a pair of catches, and a gain of 8 is not enough.
And Mike, that's okay right there. The only difference is obviously they need to be in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7. You convert right there. But when you get back in 3rd and 15, that play, it works if he stay up, but the reality is Tulane's going to be on top of him too quick to be able to pull that off, play in and play out.
So 4th down and 5, and Justin Wayne kicks to Teddy Veal. UConn lets it roll, and it settles at the 15-yard line. Make sure to get your NFL Sunday started on ESPN at 10 a.m. on ESPN. Sunday NFL presented by Snickers. Host Chris Berman and the gang provide all the latest news and updates from stadiums around the league right up until kickoff. And before you set your lineups, catch our experts provide the latest news, injury reports, and predict the top fantasy performers on Fantasy Football Now, presented by Papa John's at 11 Eastern on ESPN2. Both shows also available live on Watch ESPN. This is where the UConn defense gets a good test. Now see if they can keep Tulane deep.
In that 3-man look, that 34 look that they normally use in everyday downs.
On the ground, and it's penetration from the UConn defensive line. As Michael Myers, nose guard, is in there with Jefferson Ashuru.
And that's what you see on this defense. The D-line guys are supposed to occupy the down linemen, and the linebackers, Ashuru, are supposed to be able to make the plays, which is what happened right there. We didn't see that in that first drive. They were in that 4-down look, something they're not really accustomed to doing, only in bits and pieces during every down, is have those 3 big down linemen and those 4 linebackers behind them.
Montana with the delay, and Beatty trapped once again. Good showing here from UConn, which has struggled to hold opponents in the first quarter.
Michael Myers, the backup nose tackle who's in on relief, just does a great job of beating the center, Nathan Shanley, and gets to the quarterback. We're seeing the exact opposite of what we saw in that first drive with Tulane pretty much at will doing what they, Beatty running all over the place, but now when they switch to that 3-man look, I don't know what it's done, but obviously they're being able to shut down what Tulane's looking to do.
Michael Myers, no doubt, will become increasingly popular as this month goes on. Montana on the dig route. And the Huskies all over it. Javon Williams guarded the boundary there.
You almost snuck that one by me. I like that. The Halloween reference. I got you. Not that dumb.
Last one was H2O, I think 20 years later. I don't know how many yards we are.
Yeah.
First quarter winding down as the UConn defense gets a stop. And the whistles blow as the clock winds down.
That's the end of the
Peter Piccarelli and crew will punt from the other end as UConn gets set to go back on offense. Steamy night in New Orleans, and Tulane in just the 3rd ever game here at Yulman Stadium, a 7-3 early lead. Glad to have you with us. Mike Cousins, Brian Kinchin. As the UConn defense forced to stop, and Peter Piccarelli with Deshaun Fox waiting back deep at his own 44-yard line. That was a big stop there for the Huskies. Granted, the way things have gone for them in first quarters this year, in terms of scoring, outscored 52-6 in first quarters, and they turned the ball over 3 out of their first 4 games on the first possession. So today, much better. This is a low kick. And not a particularly long one either. So here come the Huskies looking to score, and they try to do their 8 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, we talked about him in the open. 6'3", can get up and make the grab. He's a physical presence, 5-year senior, leader, and then the fade route in the end zone we see right here. But folks, it's not just natural giftedness. Coach Bob Diaco talked about he is the hardest worker, not just on the field, but off the field. He said he's really stepped up his leadership this year as he was named captain of their football team, one of 4 guys elected to that honor.
They love his work ethic in the film room too, helping to push along younger, but is a young team. Tommy Myers, case in point, freshman tight end, goes in motion. They hand it off to Newsome. He's got some room, gets bumped, and goes down. First contact made by the cornerback, Lorenzo Doss.
And we see the cutback there by Newsome, which you look at the Tulane linebackers and the way that they like to play. Nico Marley, love him. Coach Bob Diaco talked about him, said he's a joy to watch. He's not a big, tall guy, but he is the inspirational lead. He commits early. That cutback, if it's there, is going to be big because their linebackers are shooting gaps and playing up tight, and there's nobody waiting for cutback. When we saw De Lorenzo in there earlier in the year, the same thing on that lead play. The cutback is where the money was.
Saw him do that quite a bit a couple weeks ago at Rutgers. That's up in the air, nobody in particular. And it certainly didn't look like Whitmer there was out of the pocket. I don't know if there was anybody in the area. I think they're going to have to talk about this one.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's going to be close. They're going to get a look at it maybe on a replay. There's a lot of rumbling in the crowd for the call, but
there's no foul. With attention to the ground, the passer was outside the pocket.
Yeah, they couldn't quite sway him.
So referee Tracy Jones and crew say Whitmer's outside the pocket. And a 3rd down, 4 to go for UConn.
And this is a manageable distance for them, Mike. It's 3rd and 4, but they're just not that good at protecting. They're going to have some originality. The screen is what I like to see. When you get aggressive rushers up front like Tulane has, there's down 4 guys.
Heavy pressure, Whitmer way over the head of Davis, and it looked like there was a mix-up there between what Whitmer wanted and where Davis was going.
Man, they couldn't even hardly slow him up. That wasn't good. I don't know if anybody can get him out of that situation. Chandler Whitmer does a good job, though, in both circumstances of getting rid of the football, not taking the sack, and certainly not putting it where Tulane might be able to get their hands on it.
This year, the Huskies have allowed 20 sacks, 6th most among FBS teams. Wayne with his 2nd punt of the night. At the goal line. And a touchback. Nice kick, Huskies cover. And it's Tulane back deep. Well, don't you just love a long snapper, Brian Kinchin? On this punt, 40 yards, moving downfield, down in college. I said touchback. No, it's at the 1-yard line because it's where the ball is rather than where the player's body.
That's right. And as a long snapper, you got 2 assignments. You got to basically snap the football and then try to get down and make a play, whether that's a tackle or downing the football. So he did his job on both levels. And this really pins Tulane back. It's a tough circumstance for any offense, and I'm sure Eric Price, the offensive coordinator, is really thinking about what happened on that 2nd series. They had such success in the 1st series, but they could not move the football. Now he's got to just...
Montana with Thompson behind him. They go right up the middle and at least gain a few to make it more comfortable. He's still moving. Forward progress is going to take him up to the 6-yard line.
Well, we were joking with the coaches the other day about Lezedrick. He's the battering ram. He said he'd run through a wall, and obviously the guy who needs to get the call right there when you're on the 1-yard line and give you some breathing room to be able to operate your offense.
And he's got the best size out of their core of running backs. 6'1", 217, where Hilliard and Beatty, the freshman. He gets the carry once again as they move between the hash marks. And up ahead to the 10-yard line. Nick Montana, youngest son of the Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana. Last week, played just the last possession.
We talked about him a little bit with the coaches, and they gave us some insight to why he ended up here. He's been around winning locker rooms. He understands the lingo, knows the system. He's a good fit for their program, especially last year in the snaps that he got in the games that he played in.
Third and short. Looks like the play call was the same on all three. Go right into the heart of the UConn defense.
Well, in Lezedrick, we didn't give him a whole lot of credit, though. Even against Duke, he had a 100-yard game, 124 yards running the football. So he's not just one-dimensional. He's able to gain yards and be able to see crease other than just the hard yards.
A couple weeks ago against Rutgers, 8 carries, 31 yards. The Green Wave put up just 6 points in that game.
Well, this is a look where they like to throw the football with the two backs in the backfield or a run draw.
And they go to Beatty, who gets the outside through the first wave of pressure, and then from the backside, dragged down to the turf. And Beatty already is rapidly approaching that number here, not even midway through this second quarter.
Yeah, he has a maximum of about 15, I think is his highest for the year. And like I was saying earlier, he seemed to be getting the ball early. Obviously, when he has success, you want to keep feeding him the rock and giving him the chance.
This time it's Dante Butler. He gets his first carry, but a flag right at the area where he took off.
After distance to goal, second down.
That's the right guard, Chris Taylor.
And this is something that we've seen quite a bit out of Tulane. They're averaging about 10 penalties a game, 83 yards a game. They cannot let this happen. We talked to Curtis Johnson, CJ, about it, and we see the takedown right here. You just can't do that. And they had referees, they brought them out to the practice field for the last 2 weeks during their bye week. I've had that happen as a player as well when you have those problems. The great thing is the referees aren't just calling the penalties. They're talking to the kids about what they're doing and how they can fix it.
2nd and 14 after the penalty. It's Beatty again through the interior. Still going. He gets all the way to the second wave. Waiting for Andrew Adams, the strong safety, to come in and get him. Now, you talk about those referees. I think they were really high on that because of the youth of this team and players just not knowing necessarily what they were doing wrong. They said there's not really a raw guy on either side of the ball. As a player in your days, did you find that to be helpful to bring in those reps?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, for me, I was pretty conscious of what I could and could not do, but you get young players that don't really understand. I think the explanation of why they call the penalty is more helpful than anything, because in a game, obviously, you don't get that.
Montana fakes the throw, flag in the backfield. There was Sean Donnelly, the right tackle.
Holding, 10-yard penalty, third down.
He got locked up there with Cole Ormsby.
And that's really inexcusable for a guy like him who's been around. He's a fifth-year senior. He has more starts than anybody. He's the most experienced guy up front. He knows better than that. He cannot allow those things to happen. That's a critical down, and now it puts him in an impossible, virtually, 3rd and 15.
Game against Rutgers, just 3 of 15 on 3rd down. So far today, 1 of 2.
Well, we talked to the coaches the other day about offensive coordinator Eric Price about the screen, but we haven't seen it tonight yet.
They give it to Beatty. He's ahead to the 16-yard line. Not going to be enough to get the first down. And one of the things Eric Price told us was, so far we've seen them hand it off to Beatty quite a bit, but they said we got to get him the ball on screens outside, because once he gets it, he can go.
Daylight, he has the speed to be able to go the distance. But I like that call right there, because the game that we called earlier in the year against Georgia Tech in the 3rd and 20, they try to convert and they end up with an interception on the play. They did the smart thing there. They got their yards back and they punt the ball away, and they don't give them anything. They make them have to earn it. So I think that's a progression for them offensively to be able to do that.
Make the right play and keep it safe. 9:06 to go, second quarter. And UConn, September 8th, 2012 in a game against Tulsa. But great news, the New Orleans Saints gave him an official contract earlier this year, and he's remained a big part of this program under head coach Curtis Johnson.
Yeah, Curtis has been very good to him and his family having around. Got to meet him last time I was in the office in Tulane earlier in the year.
New quarterback in for the Huskies, Tim Boyle, hands it off, and that's Newsome once again. He picks up a couple. Now the change here for Boyle, a redshirt sophomore. Connecticut started 4 games last year, and this year has played sparingly, but Bob Diaco said that we got to get him more reps. He's our quarterback of the future for 2015, for 2016, and he said they're going to mix him in here as they go along with Chandler Whitmer.
Yeah, he's a little immature, obviously, because of his age and his thinking process, and his leadership lacks a little bit, but he looks the part. He's got all the skills. He's got everything you want as a quarterback, but obviously just need to groom him a little bit, just a few plays at a time here and there to be able to get him some experience.
Down the sideline, Davis off his left hand and incomplete. That's what Bob Diaco told us, is that Boyle has the size, the decision-making, the leadership, and it's just a matter of meaningful repetitions.
Yeah, and he started 4 games for him last year. He's not inexperienced about being on the field and playing. He does a decent job of getting the ball out to Jeremy Davis, but Davis doesn't pick it up until late and unable to make a play on the ball. But a good play with the football right where it needed to be to give Davis a chance had he got his eyes on it. But again, we're in that 3rd and long. This is not something they're good at. I'd really love to see a slow screen here and get him out of this jam.
They give Boyle time. He goes outside, and it's intercepted. Taken away by Lorenzo Doss. The 14th interception of his career.
Well, the same issue we just talked about with Tulane, trying to get too many yards in 3rd down. And he makes the throw here. Doss does a great job of bringing the ball in. Very similar, had a one-handed catch in the 3rd quarter versus Rutgers. That gives him his 14th for his career. That's just awesome. You love to see DBs with good hands. Most of the time, those guys are playing defense because they don't have them. But obviously, a great pair of hands, great awareness, and ball skills to be able to bring it in. A preseason All-American, that guy does it all. He's one of their leaders, one of those quiet leaders we talked about in that defensive backfield.
He picked off 7 last year to lead the club. Wave looking for Beatty once again, and he takes the reception for a pickup of 4. So they're getting him involved any way that they can. This is right now on track to be by far his heaviest workload of the season.
Well, he caught 5 balls in their outing against Rutgers as well. And obviously, we talked about how they need to get in the football in the air, and that's a great way to do it on the quick out route, just a timing route, and really just becomes like a short run for 4 or 5 yards to put them in 2nd and medium, which is a good situation for them.
Beatty, with agility and evasiveness, does get 1st down yardage. However, a flag in late.
Holding, offense, number 68, 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Well, I can't imagine the frustration that Eric Price, the offensive coordinator, has, because I'm watching this and I'm frustrated. I watch Beatty with a great run, great vision, picks his way down the field, and then we see the flag fly. And again, the 3rd one of the night. That's Uzdevines, 68, the big left tackle, 6'7", 300-pounder. We just can't have that happen. That's too big of a deficit to try to overcome every series, Mike.
That's now the 3rd holding call against Tulane. So the penalties continue to be an issue. This is Trey Scott, the freshman, with his 1st catch of the year. The tight end from Powder Springs, Georgia. Some late action. Tulane sideline wanted a flag.
Well, Trey Scott is more of the receiver type. He's 6'2", 205. He's a freshman just like the other tight end, Charles Scott, but more of a receiver, wide receiver guy with really good hands, and really puts him in a manageable situation. Still 3rd and long. Got to have a good throw from Montana here. Good protection up front.
He's a perfect 7 of 7 on the night. He looks deep. There's a lot of contact, and it falls incomplete.
Wow.
Coverage from John Green on the outside. Running step for step with Teddy Veal.
Well, Teddy Veal, another one of their dynamic young receivers, and he's playing the part early.
He push him?
When he's got his hand right on him, John Green, one of the backup cornerbacks, has his hands all over him. Now, granted, we don't know how much of that was actual and how much of that was acting, but the refs surely didn't buy it and surely didn't see anything enough to toss the flag.
Peter Piccarelli averaging just 36 yards a kick this year. And Fox lets it roll out of bounds.
So they've got to be able to throw the football, play action early. They're a good run team where they like to run the football, and play action is what they need to do to be able to get the ball moving early. But they're trying this lead game, which is what they're used to doing, running it strong and weak, very almost stubbornly doing that. But they get themselves not only not making yardage, but they're making negative yardage, and it just puts them in bad situations in third and second and long. But Jeremy Davis is sitting out there with one catch on the night, and they've got to be able to get it to him, and play action is the way to do it. I'd like to see the slow screen. They've early downs, but we haven't seen that tonight at all, and they just seem to be getting in these downs that they can't get out of every series, Mike.
And it was a loss with 3 on first down as they went to Ron Johnson. Now they spread the field quite a bit more and dump it off. Newsome. Good speed, good elusiveness, and he gains them back a significant chunk of yardage. You look at their first drive, 13 plays, 48 yards and a field goal. The last 3 drives prior to this, 9 plays, 13 yards.
I like that play right there. You look at that little swing pass. There's not much to it, but it is a pass, and they get the first down. It's safe. It's high percentage, and that's what you want to do. You need to possess the football, run the clock, shorten the game, keep yourself in this game, which is what they're doing right now defensively, which they play well defensively. Last game against Temple, 2.5 quarters, they only gave up a touchdown.
It's Johnson up the middle through the second line of defense and all the way up to the 50-yard line. Nice carry there as he goes for.
Well, and we see the result of that swing pass, of that passing game, opening up the run game, right up the middle of that Tulane defense. When your safeties are having to make tackles, that's not a good thing. And that was the bigger back, Ron Johnson, 217 pounds from Naples, another young running back that we were promised we were going to see a lot of, and we see why right there.
Bob Diaco, the head coach for UConn, said Newsome, Johnson, look for them to get more carries, and so far that has been the case. Johnson again goes over right guard, who in their last game had 18 carries. Thursday, during meetings, is when players get what their assignments are going to be for the game, and so this was a big one, a big week for Newsome and Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the disappointment. De Lorenzo, who was the guy that was their workhorse. He was the guy getting all the carries, and to be told that Thursday that you're basically not going to be playing, that's very, very tough, very, very difficult as a player, but I'm sure he's as supportive as he can be on the sideline.
Whitmer's taking off, looking for an open window, and he slides ahead, and that's a dangerous play. A late flag comes in. Darian Monroe perhaps came down to get him a little bit too late.
Well, I understand. Here we see the hit right here. He's trying to go down and get him. When they commit to going down and hook sliding like that, you've got to lay off. And even though it's continuation, I know in his mind, Darren Monroe, it's going to be interesting to see what they make of this call. But at the top side of that play, if you notice, they tried to run the same swing pass they ran earlier, but Tulane
After
was...
the play, personal foul, late hit, defense, number 2, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yeah, you just can't have that. That's something you can't do. And I know it's hard. Those defensive guys, I feel for them. Even though I played offense, I feel for them because they're football players. You're trained to come in and make. You've got to have the discipline to be able to pull off, and it's very, very tough to do.
For Monroe, here's a guy who started every game of his career here, one of their most experienced players.
Yeah, that's costly for Tulane. They cannot spot them yardage like that.
One-on-one, they got Davis, and once again, miscommunication there between Whitmer and his top wide receiver.
Well, and you know, I understand that, but at the same time, this guy has been hit so many times. Even tonight, he knows his clock is not like a normal quarterback clock. It's sped up, and so he's trying to just get rid of the ball while he still has the chance to. And I understand that you get antsy, they call that. And I get that, and then until he can sit in that pocket a little longer and get used to that, you know, he's going to do that throughout the night, and obviously there with the miscommunication, no success.
Toss Newsome. And a good dribble for UConn, but another flag. Well, beg your pardon, no flag, but it is Tulane football.
Well, Darian Monroe making up for the mishap earlier on the quarterback. The ball comes out.
Change of pace, penalty, and then a turnover. Redemption. So the fumble by Arkel Newsome recovered by Darian Monroe, and no review.
Well, we looked at it for a second time, and it looks like he clearly gets it here in his gut before he gets out of bounds, and not until he holds it up after the play does the ball come loose again. So I think they thought it was good enough for them to not have to look at it.
Well, if it's good enough for Brady, it's good enough for me. 3:25 in the second. And both of these offenses have stalled out here
The previous play
in the second quarter.
The previous play was further reviewed after was confirmed. First down.
All right, thanks to Tracy Jones, tonight's referee, for the clarification.
Well, we talked about what UConn needed to do offensively. Tulane, I think they need to go back to what they did on that first drive of mixing it up.
Dante Butler gets his second catch of the night, turns the corner, and a flag late from far down the sideline.
Holding. Penalty. First down.
54 yards of penalties here in halftime, still 3 minutes away, and then some as the freshman Leandre James sets the offense back. It's the fourth holding penalty that they've had in this quarter.
And it's coming from everybody. It's not just young guys. Right there was a freshman, but obviously the linemen earlier who are experienced guys who cannot let that happen. It's hard to make up those kind of penalties.
On 1st and 15, Beatty gets the call once again and gains a nickel right through the middle.
Well, I love when these offenses get into a spread offense, especially these two quarterbacks, because I don't think anybody thinks Montana is going to carry the football, but they run that read option like he's going to actually have it, but he's not. He's going to give it to Beatty, and it's really not an option, really. It's more of a give to Beatty on the delayed draw right there as well.
He picks a nice block along the edge and gets right near the outside. Charles Jones, the tight end, turned inside and gave him some room.
Yeah, had a nice block coming on the edge. Number 84, Charles Jones right there. Bip, right under the chin. Nice clean hit. And Beatty getting the most out of it, giving him the first down.
Pushing away Marquise Van, the leading tackler for this UConn defense. Bit of a 2-minute drill here from Montana, the transfer from the University of Washington. Ball into Beatty's get once again. Gain it 2. Beatty comes into the game leading the American in yards per carry. 7.6 yards every time it gets into his hands. And one of several guys on this team who is a track and field athlete. He's a runner, to no surprise. Montana's got all day, and the dump off falls incomplete. Dontrell hit his hand.
Well, Tulane went with 4 verticals right there, but I like the fact that Nick Montana goes underneath to his check down. Obviously, they didn't convert, but that's something we haven't seen a lot out of the younger quarterback, Tanner Lee. Earlier, he would try to force balls in, resulting in interceptions that ended drives and didn't give them the chance. But at least they get to play third down here without throwing the ball into coverage.
Yeah, and Lee, 8 touchdowns, but 9 interceptions. Montana with more experience and shows it right there.
Yeah, just that drop over the middle on the check down put him in 3rd and long and had nothing really. Got to give credit to the UConn defense up front of getting to the quarterback, putting pressure on Montana and forcing him to get rid of the football. And we got a good ball game here. I didn't think this would happen when Tulane drove down in their opening drive. Obviously, those plays are scripted and they're a little bit more successful, but they hadn't been able to find anything that will work well and consistently against that UConn Husky defense.
Sean Fox gets out of the way, and Tulane watches it roll in their favor. All the way down to the 9-yard line. And a beautiful kick there from Peter Piccarelli.
Down to the 9-yard line. It will be 1st and 10 there for the Huskies.
Well, it's been slow dancing so far tonight for these two teams. 7-3 as the offense has dried up here in New Orleans. Rain passed through earlier. My cousin's Brian Kinchin, glad to have you along here at Hillman Stadium. Just the 3rd game they've ever played here after spending quite some time in the Superdome. A lot more atmosphere here at this wonderful yard.
Well, I can't imagine that the UConn offense, which is run by Mike Cummings, the offensive coordinator, is going to do a whole lot to risk much. With only a minute plus left in this half, only trailing 7-3.
Four wide receivers set. Out to the flat, catches.
Leads to Demir Bradley.
So they go to the air on 1st down. Now, it's a question of how they manage their timeouts, what they want to do.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like either coach is concerned about stopping the clock and not really even hurrying. UConn's huddling and kind of taking their time. And I talked about that. I don't think they're going to risk a whole lot and try to go for too much. I was surprised to see them put the ball in the air. Usually most teams will run the running back draw at the start of a 2-minute drive to see what they can get and how it's going to shape up. And I think we'll see them go back just to run the clock out.
Johnson hobbles for a couple. If you're Tulane, wouldn't you want to stop the clock?
If they would have done it after the first play, I'd say yes, but obviously it's too late now. And I really don't believe that either of these coaches is feeling real great about what they can do offensively. And I'm really kind of surprised. I thought Tulane's success would continue on after the first series, but they have been unable to find a consistent offensive drive since then.
So Tulane at home looking for their first conference win of the year. Touchdown first quarter has been the only scoring for the Green Wave. We'll go to ESPN goal line after this timeout. From New Orleans, you're watching the American Conference on ESPN. Start of the second half. Here at Tulane up 7-3. As we get set for the start of the 3rd quarter. A little bit of a muggy Saturday night. 2 turnovers for UConn. Certainly a lot of chances for them, but Tulane, the most penalized team in the conference, 5 for 54 yards, and the bulk of those came on holding calls.
Well, yeah, they're about at their average. They usually are 10 a game, and halftime they've got 5. They've just got to be smarter and not let them have those easy yards that you just can't spot any team. Doesn't matter who it is. And you put yourself offensively in a deficit that you can't overcome.
Tulane deferred after winning the opening coin toss, so Bobby Puyol sends it deep for UConn.
Hilliard on the return.
And it's Dontrell Hilliard, the freshman, with 21 yards on the return, and we've got a late flag. That was as the players were running off.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 23 of the kicking team, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Wilbert Lee, a backup safety, is penalized there. So first penalty of the game against Connecticut.
Well, I think that's indicative of the personality of Bob Diaco. That's the way he teaches his kids. He's very consistent about that.
And now Nick Montana started off 7 of 7. First drive took them 80 yards, just 27 yards since. So the UConn defense has been getting the job done.
When they have their 2 tight ends in the game, they like to run play action if they're not going to run the football out of this look.
Straight drop back and toward the sideline. Catch is made by Xavier Rush, his first catch of the night. It is 6 for the senior from Terry, Mississippi.
Now, Rush is a guy who's played in a lot of games, him along with Shackelford, 40 or so games. Those guys are the ones that help those young receivers who are the leaders of that receiving corps. Even though we talked about it in the open about them not having a vocal leader, obviously they lead by the way that they carry themselves and how they work on the field and how they play in games.
Now Montana slings it low. They go back to Rush, flip the play to the far side of the field, and he's gang tackled. First hit by Byron Jones. It's quite a tandem between Justin Shackelford and Xavier Rush, both coming into play tonight with north of 1,000 yards. And this year it's Rush who's caught those last 2 passes, who leads the team with 3 touchdown catches.
And I like that call early on, 2 pass plays. And they, out of this formation, early in the year, they threw the ball consistently. But in the last game or 2, they've run the ball more out of this look than I've seen them previously.
All sorts of time for Montana. He gets first down yardage to Leandre James.
It's almost a contrast between what UConn is able to do offensively and Tulane. Montana is sitting back there, untouched, unfazed, not getting a whole lot of pressure from that front 7 or those front 3 linemen of UConn. On the other hand, UConn can't sit and throw a football for more than a second or 2. So that's a huge luxury, not just for Montana, but obviously for the Tulane offense.
And that's with a pretty young offensive line. Both guards and the center are sophomores. They go to Beatty, and from the backside, he's taken down. Reuben Frank, the defensive end, came in and ripped him down.
Well, Frank is an interesting guy. He was their starting fullback in 2012 and converted to defensive tackle. He's a really good pass rusher. He's tall, 6'4", and really quick. He's a lighter defensive end, able to close on running backs a lot quicker than your normal guys who are a little taller, a little thicker around the thighs.
Out of Poughkeepsie, New York, not far from New York City. Back to Beatty, who had himself a pretty good first half. And boy, does he keep those legs moving. Lazidra Thompson got that carry.
Well, a little delay counter we haven't seen from Tulane all year, really. We're pulling both the guard, the backside guard and tackle, and it looks, or just the guard and the tight end. A really good play. I like that call. I really would be interested to see if they're going to get back to those first few plays that worked in that opening series. We saw a screen out of them in that first drive, but have yet to see it again in the game.
Montana, and that's spotted right at the first down marker. Field, a freshman again, just running that underneath route.
Tackled by Javon Williams.
A really good coverage there by Javon Williams, right on top of him, but you cannot defend a well-thrown football, which is what he delivers right here, and able to get the yard pretty much Field did to be able to get the first down.
So it's fourth down and maybe a third of a yard to go.
Well, they did mark him short. Thought he had it.
Tulane on 4th down this year, 3 out of 12.
And there are 2 big tight ends in the game.
A pitch, nowhere to go. A puzzling call with no lead blocker out in front for Dante Butler. So they sent him out there into a danger zone, and they do not convert to 4th down.
Well, I'm not totally miffed by the call, but they haven't had enough short yardage plays to be able to fool them into that dive being real and being able to get it out wide. And UConn did a very good job of staying put out on the edge and stifling the play.
So Chandler Whitmer has seen action at quarterback in all but 1 drive tonight. This is 1st down yardage and the carry for Newsome.
We get a shot of Sam Schofield, the senior leader of that defense, another quiet leader who works really hard and really has done a good job of this mature group of defensive backs through the year, but they've really had problems on the edge, and him staying upright and being able to make stops. But he does a good job there filling the hole up the middle.
And across the middle, Jeremy Davis makes a grab. Not a lot of space to run.
Tackled by Edward Williams.
They've tried to find Davis downfield a couple of times tonight. There, that was a simple underneath route. And 2 times that Whitmer has targeted him deep, they've been a little bit of a miscommunication.
Just has not had the time, and they have to go to that short underneath stuff, whether it's crossing routes or out routes, to be able to get the ball out of his hands quick, to be able to give them that perception of a passing game.
Minimal gain back to Newsome, and it's again a 3rd down and long to go. And this is where exactly because of what you've talked about, not having a lot of time in the pocket, is where UConn has struggled to move the ball.
Bob Diago talked about being efficient on 1st and 2nd down, because you look at their efficiency on 3rd down, it's not really good. It's very, very poor, and the reason it's poor is because they're in 3rd and long, and any team to be able to convert 3rd long is difficult. When they're right back in the situation that's most difficult for most offenses, especially theirs, who has trouble with their up front guys who are inexperienced and immature.
Whitmer gets his man on the outside, and a quick drop, but he finds Davis. Just the 3rd catch of the night for Davis, a big one there to get them down to 31.
Well, that's a good call by Mike Cummings, the offensive coordinator. We saw this exact same play early in the game, but to the near boundary. It's the exact same out route, timing route, gets the ball out of his hands quick. He doesn't have to make a read. He just makes the throw, and he knows where Jeremy Davis is going to be once he releases that football. And it's just a good throw and catch that you really just cannot defend.
So 1st and 10 for Whitmer. Newsome takes the toss, goes up the middle, the ball's loose. Tulane says they've got it. Darian Monroe, his 2nd fumble recovery of the night.
That's what they needed to happen.
Third turnover of the game for the Huskies. Still clinging to a narrow advantage. They've got 3 takeaways tonight. Safety Darian Monroe coming up big on their last defensive possession.
Well, Darian Monroe, he is the quarterback of that defense, and Tanzel Smart, the big 303-pound nose tackle, does a great job of staying with it. A guy who hustles every play, is aggressive, a great leader up front. And then Darian Monroe comes up and makes his 2nd fumble recovery of the night. The interesting thing about him being quarterback of the defense, that's what he played in high school back at East St. John. So he's used to that role on one side of the ball, are they?
So 8:18 to go here in the 3rd. On the ground on 1st down for the Green Wave. Sherman
Bailey on the carry. Spun down by Byron Jones.
Last time anybody scored in this game, 4:01 to go in the first quarter. That was a touchdown by Tulane, Montana to Charles Jones, the freshman tight end.
Well, and you usually don't see games when they're close ball games. They're usually close ball games with points being scored. Very rarely are you seeing low scoring games that are close like this.
Shift along the line for UConn, play action. Montana with open space. Off to Dante Butler, the fullback. Well, what if I told you the earth shook and the series stood still? October 17th, 1989. Soon after the telecast for Game 3 of the World Series between the Giants and A's started, the ground began to shake under Candlestick Park after the 6.9 earthquake rolled through, bringing death and destruction. The Bay Area pulled together and baseball took a back seat, 30 for 30, the day the series stopped, Tuesday at 10 Eastern on ESPN. Joe Montana played at Candlestick Park. His youngest son, Nick, piloting the offense here for Tulane. After last week, just playing on their last drive, went 5 of 5 in 2013, started 11 games, all the games he played in when he was healthy that year.
Well, I like what they're doing with this drive. Earlier, we saw the boot, the play action boot, which is a very high percentage throw for Montana to make. And then we got the two tight ends in the game on the second snap running the football.
Inside handoff, Dante Butler rumbles his way down inside the 40-yard line.
And again, we see that little counter out of the two-back look, which opens up the middle, similar to what they did on the first drive of the game, of finding success by mixing it up a little bit, loosening up that UConn defense and finding the holes and being able to get to their side of the field for the first time in a while.
Gain of 24 for number 24, Butler, who last week only had one touch. Well, word is a bit of a chain malfunction along the sideline caused the official timeout. So a bit of a speed bump in this drive for Tulane. As they look for their first points and the game's first points since the 4-minute mark of the first quarter. And flags blow this one down.
We see the tackle moving, the big number 70, Sean Donnelly. Just cannot do things like that. That's so elementary. It's just stuff that you cannot, especially you're in the middle of the season now. You could excuse it maybe early on, especially with younger players. This guy's a 5-year senior. You just cannot.
False start, offense, number 70, 5-yard penalty, first down.
6 penalties for 59 yards against Tulane. That's Donnelly, the senior out of Pelham, New York, hampering what otherwise has been a nice game for Nick Montana.
Yeah, when you get them on offense and you put yourself in a hole, it's just, and they're silly penalties. It's not something like a holding where you're just trying to be aggressive and you get caught. That's just a simple offsides that shouldn't happen.
Looking for the screen, late developing play. Now Beatty tries to make more out of it and gains 1 yard before he's taken down by Javon Williams.
Well, Julian Campany, the big number 90, nose tackle, does a good job of sniffing that out early. I was looking for that play. I love that slow screen when you can catch the defense off guard, but he does a great job of seeing it, sensing it, because what he does as a D lineman, he understands that when he gets dropped, he knows something's up, and he does a good job of backtracking and finding the football. They've obviously worked on that during the last 2 weeks to prepare for Tulane.
Both of these teams coming off of bye weeks. And that's the freshman tight end, Trey Scott, with his second catch of the night. And they slowly inch toward that first down marker. They got to get up ahead to the 28.
So you don't make much of that slip and fall, but This is the third game I've done at Ullman Stadium, and I have seen a lot of that from not just big guys, the little guys trying to find footing. And I don't know if it's because of the new field or what, but it just seems a little bit slippery than a normal surface.
Does humidity play a part?
It might have. I mean, because we're in a place that obviously has a lot of humidity, and maybe this grass, you know, is not used to it being down here.
Timeout, Tulane.
Tulane moving, and they take their first time out here in the second half. Now bowl eligible, and there is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Joe Montana, watching his youngest son, Nick, trying to lead Tulane to a win, and his wife, Jennifer, seated to his right. Tulane hosting their first ever American Athletic Conference game here in this new facility. 0-1 in conference play. Montana steps away from pressure and throws it out of bounds. Good move there from the senior who started his career at the University of Washington, moved over to Mount San Antonio College in Connecticut, and now here in his second season with Tulane. When they found him, they said, look, we like the pedigree he has, been in a winning locker room at Washington, and certainly son of a winner.
Yeah, about the only thing he said that's different from Tanner, you know, he has the same menu of plays, but his cadence is just a little different. Just took a little time for the players to get used to that. But he runs all the same stuff.
Short punt and a Tulane bounce. Beautifully executed on special teams. Down at the 1. Good memories in New Orleans for Joe Montana, a Super Bowl winner here in New Orleans. Well, that's certainly not enviable field position for the Huskies on their own 1-yard line, down by 4, and perhaps in case of emergency, break the glass. We saw Max DiLorenzo, who started the first 5 games at running back, warming up, and now it looks like they're going to bring him in for his first action of the day.
Well, it's very similar to what Tulane's circumstances were earlier. Obviously, we talked about his play package, and it must include short yardage where they need those hard yards, because obviously they've got to get some breathing room for that offensive line that's a little bit permeable no matter what they're doing offensively, running or passing the football. And DiLorenzo is the guy to do it.
He's deep. The senior Jasmar Clax is the fullback. DiLorenzo goes down, and a safety. Tulane sweeps right through.
Well, we talked about it earlier on a play on the perimeter for Sherman Beatty for Tulane. No different here. Doesn't matter who gets that football, you don't have a chance. Tulane had 9 guys in the box. UConn has to have something better than that when they know they're going to bring everyone up the middle. Man, that's huge. And they gave up a safety in their last ball game as well versus Temple. Gave up 16 points, 2 of them being a safety along with a couple of touchdowns. And Bob Diaco said that we cannot do that. That's game-changing plays right there that put them in a more of a deficit than they might be able to overcome, Mike.
And so that offensive line that has allowed the 6th most sacks in all of FBS easily penetrated right there. That's the first scoring done by either team since the 4-minute mark of the first quarter.
Well, it's almost like, you know, they both have 1 win under their belt, but it's like they don't really want to have another. And it's really, no, you take it. No, you take it. And nobody seems to want to step up and take charge of this game. And obviously, that's from the offensive ineptitude of both of those ball clubs to be able to consistently move the football.
It's America's fastest growing sensation, American Athletic Conference hot potato. Pulio's kick taken back at the 18-yard line. Hilliard stopped up ahead at the 35.
Hilliard on the carry.
Make sure to get your NFL Sunday started on ESPN. 10 Eastern. It's Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Snickers on ESPN. Join Chris Berman and the gang. They'll provide all the latest news and updates from stadiums around the league right up until kickoff. And before you set your fantasy lineups, catch our experts. They'll have the latest news, injury reports, and predict the top fantasy performers. Fantasy football now presented by Papa John's at 11 Eastern on ESPN2. Both shows also available live on Watch ESPN.
Well, we showed Sherman Beatty in the open, the big plays that he can create. They need to get another one from him to spark this offense and get them going in the right direction.
He does get the ball, but he goes in the wrong direction. Julian Campani penetrates through.
Yes, he obviously has something to say about that theory right there. And again, it's not just not getting yards, it's negative yardage on a straight ahead run play that should not happen. But again, we've got to give credit to those front three, those big guys playing in that 3-down look, that 2-gap technique. But they're able to shut down that running game pretty regularly throughout the night.
Beatty gets the call, turns to the outside, some extra room, and a first down for the freshman. Or do they trust him? Scampers for 15.
Well, and we see there that track speed and how that pays off, because that's not a great edge, but guess what? He still gets an extra 15 yards just by beating them around the corner.
13 carries, 77 yards. 2 weeks ago, 12 carries for 108 against Rutgers.
And every time we've seen a play like that in the first half, it always was accompanied by a yellow flag, but not that time.
Most penalized team in the conference. Montana twirls it down the sideline and well out of bounds with pressure from B.J. McBride. Well, the son of a Hall of Famer, this has been the biggest difference. You've seen this Green Wave team several times. That was with Tanner Lee, the redshirt freshman at quarterback. Chances are the difference is Lee might try to fit that into a tight space. Montana knows to get rid of it.
Right, and I'm not trying to dump on a guy or anything, but that's just the reality of it. He's smart enough, Nick is smart enough, mature enough to know, scramble, get out of the jam, throw it away, and don't cost your team a turnover.
Off to the edge, Xavier Rush. Tap dances his way across the 45. Not enough for the first down for Tulane.
Good play, little flick out to the side. Trey Scott, the receiver-like tight end out there to block on the edge, does a very good job, puts him in a very, very makeable 3rd and 3. But this is where you need that vocal leader in the huddle we talked to him about earlier that they just don't have, to be able to get this team going, motivated, to be able to get this, sustain this drive and continue to put points on the board, which they haven't been able to do offensively in a long time.
Montana empty backfield, UConn blitzes, he gets away. Eyes up and he fades, first down, the catch is made. Justin Shackelford, his main target this year. And what a job to avoid the blitz by Montana. Junior Lee came hard charging, and Montana got out of the way.
You talk about maturity. Watch him direct the receiver where to go. Tells him where to go and puts it right where he needs to. What a great throw. How mature is that? That's father-like right there. And even though we didn't see a whole lot of scrambling out of Joe, we saw the precision of the pass, which made the play happen.
Minute 30 to go here in the quarter. And it's Beatty on first down. Just going horizontal along the line. Now, one difference that we haven't seen as much here with Montana, the throws have been high percentage throws. They've been checkdowns, they've been throws across the middle. With Lee, we saw a lot more deep passes.
Yeah, I guess because of the youth, they felt like they can get more out of him offensively, but I don't understand that thought process, because you've got to develop him into the ability to do that. And they're giving Nick Montana really what you would expect them to give to Tanner Lee, but yet he's handling it just like a pro, just like you should do, and taking the high percentage throw and getting rid of the football when he has to.
Smart check down again. This is Beatty. Stutter step past the first down marker. And when they find him in open space, he has been quite successful. Stripped of his helmet there at the end of the play.
Well, what a great job. You know, you talk about patience in a runner. Even though this is a reception, watch his patience. He's not in a hurry. He's just picking his way and getting extra yards. And a great job by Montana of picking him up on the check down, the crossing route underneath the short, as you said earlier, high percentage throw that turns into a big gain.
Kenton Adeyemi there, who is part of the tackling crew, also tossed his helmet aside after it came off the end.
The previous play is under further review.
So play under review as Beatty, doing his best evasion routine, may have stepped out a little bit before where the initial mark was. In New Orleans, Tulane with the lead and the ball, but perhaps not quite as advantageous field position as they thought.
Well, and I always want to give credit to those referees because they have the hardest job on the field, no doubt, without question. But it's fairly obvious here.
After review, the runner stepped at the 22-yard line, which was past the line to gain, still resulting in a first down. 1st and 10 from the 22.
So that will move Tulane just outside of the red zone.
Yeah, and we missed the second step, which was about
well out
6 inches outside of the boundary, wondering how that was missed. But that's why they have replay, and they played it to perfection and all as well.
Much to the delight of Curtis Johnson. His team looking for a win here in conference play. They spell Beatty, and Lezedrick Thompson has nowhere to go on first down.
Well, I like that they're getting these big tight ends in the game. They're running that delay counter.
End of the third quarter.
Only time Tulane's been in the red zone tonight, it's been a touchdown. They'll try it again when we start the fourth. 6 over UConn. Mike Cousins, Brian Kinchin, second half scoring. 2 points today by Tulane, but it's been hard to come by this year.
Yeah, the last two ball games, they've scored only 13 in the first half and 6 in the second against quality opponents. But if you go back to Southeastern, even though they scored 28 in the first half, still only 7 points in the second half. 13 points the last 3 games in the second half.
On second down, to the outside, Teddy Veal grabs it and is quickly pushed across the boundary. So continuing with those high percentage routes for Nick Montana. Now they've got to look a little bit further down the field.
Well, and we talked about it in those games, the second half lulls that they seem to have. And as we talked to Curtis Johnson and his staff about leadership, that's really where it comes into play. And early on, you can excuse it to heat and maybe being tired, but you're in the middle of the season now, and that shouldn't happen in the second half. You shouldn't have a lull like that offensively week in and week out.
All day he's had time over the middle and incomplete. Justin Shackelford, his intended target, streaking through the end zone. And now they're bringing on the kicking team, which has been a sore area this year for Andrew Duraco, the freshman out of Fort Lauderdale. Only 1 out of 5 this year.
Well, and that goes back to the long snapper. They had problems earlier with execution with the snap, and then that translated into problems with the punting game as well. And they're using their backup snapper this game, Marfisi, the tight end.
Kick on the way, and good. Duraco, his second make of the year, knocks it through from 38. He got some help this week. A former Luke Rosa Award winner, Cairo Santos, who excelled here at Tulane. Now with the Chiefs stop by this week, that inspiration pays off. are down a battle of 1 and 4 teams as they get ready to receive here with 14:21 to go in the fourth quarter. Trevor Sims, baseball player turned walk-on kicker with a nice boot, and the Tulane defense has played the starring role.
Well, they've done a really good job of getting to the football. Lorenzo Doss on the interception, tiptoeing on the boundary right there, and Darian Monroe causing the fumble and recovering the fumble. And then here, big Tanzel Smart, the big defensive tackle, and again, Darian Monroe on the fumble recovery. And then here we have Royce LaFrance, the defensive end, coming in and stuffing Di Lorenzo for the safety.
And that was the first carry of the game, first play that Di Lorenzo was on the field. Their starting running back the first 5 weeks. Ron Johnson, the freshman out of Naples, Florida. It's a first down and a carry of 12.
Well, I think it's interesting to point out, we had a discussion yesterday with Lionel Washington about his man coverage and how much they used and how much I thought that it hurt them in the run game. Obviously, he held out on us and didn't tell us they're not running any man tonight. They're in just a 3-deep shell, playing zone, and they're more effective stopping the run. Obviously not on that last play.
Johnson gets dialed up again and going side to side, goes down. Tripped up by Eric Thomas.
Here we see Lionel Washington right there. They call him Speedy, 15 years in the NFL. And according to CJ, Curtis Johnson, the head coach at Tulane, he's still got that same speed, and that's why he calls him Speedy.
Played 15 seasons and then also coached 12 more in the NFL.
Yeah, he likes to run that NFL type look where you're locking down the receivers and you're playing football with the rest of the guys. Really, both sides of the football. You look at Curtis Johnson's experience at the New Orleans Saints, brought that same type of offense here to Tulane, and really both sides of the ball are very NFL-like in their system and what they try to do. I think personally it's a little much sometimes, especially for these young guys, but we've seen them with Montana tonight offensively gear it down a little bit, and now defensively really getting, like I was talking to y'all about yesterday, getting in that 3-deep shell, playing zone, and making them beat you with your zone coverage. Because in man coverage, you make mistakes, it's big plays. Zone coverage, you make mistakes, it's short underneath, you've got people to come up and make plays and make stops. And you're also, in my opinion, more effective in the running game, which obviously is what UConn does a lot of, especially coming into this football game against Tulane.
That was Royce LaFrance, the defensive end, who came off injured player for Tulane. Now 2nd down and 8. Whitmer checked his dump down. He's got open space and slides just at the first down marker. Initial spot says they'll move the chains.
Similar to the play we saw earlier where he did the hook slide, and we have Nico Marley pulling up and doing almost a front flip right over the top of him, but smart and not laying the shoulder and getting the penalty.
Saw that earlier on. Quick drop and a look to the outside as Whitmer dumps it off with Jeremy Davis.
Now that's got to start looking familiar to everybody watching this telecast, because that's the same out route. It's a little shorter, but it gets the ball out of Whitmer's hands really fast, really quick, and a great timing route and a good catch, the way to dig it out by Jeremy Davis.
Steps up under pressure at midfield. Along the sideline, tipped and almost taken away. Great hands to get in there. Perry Nickerson almost caused the 4th turnover by UConn.
Well, what a great effort by LaFrance, number 48, off the edge. He's just a high-energy guy, and we talked to Curtis Johnson about him, how much he expects more out of this kid. And tonight, the last 3 or 4 plays, he's been all over the field, but also credit to Whitmer, the quarterback, of getting out of the look, getting the ball down the field, almost making a mistake, but getting it where it cannot be picked, and only his receiver had a shot at it. Smart play and a 3rd and manageable right here.
They got to get the snap off here, and they cannot. A timeout taken by Whitmer as he saw his team was in trouble.
Timeout, UConn.
Pivotal 3rd down for the Huskies. Big third down for UConn, trying for their first score since the first quarter. They're 4 of 8 tonight. What should Bob Diaco go for here?
Well, it's a tricky situation. They cannot run the ball up the middle. They've tried it on the edges where they've had a little bit of success. But I think they put him in the gun. They work the near side with the trips, and he looks for the back underneath or in the check down to get the first down if he has time to wait. That's the key, if he has the time to wait for the back.
The fake works to perfection. Whitmer faked the inside handoff to Mariner and gets 8 on third down.
Well, and I had talked about it earlier, how Montana and Whitmer make this read option play, but they never keep the football. Well, guess what? Diaco knew better, and he said, you know what, this should catch him, and it did. Good call. I like that call by offensive coordinator Mike Cummins, who's the offensive coordinator and the tight ends coach, which is kind of an odd combination. You don't see that very often, but a great call right there to get him the first down.
Cummings and Diaco on the same staff at Eastern Michigan back in 2000 and 2001 under Jeff Woodruff.
Second charge, timeout.
Now that's the second time on this drive that the Huskies have stopped the clock. Trying to keep it close, under 12 to play in New Orleans. Well, 176 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter gets you 3 points tonight in New Orleans. And that's what UConn has totaled. Not a lot for Jeremy Davis, their top wideout, but a first down and 10 with the ball on the 36. Seventh play of the drive. Whitmer thought he had time. No, sir. Down he goes. They called a timeout with 25 seconds on the play clock, and one of the most porous offensive lines continues to be just that.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter what they're doing, whether they're running the football or if they're trying to pass protect or in play action. It's just they've not been very effective, and we got to give credit to Royce LaFrance out on the edge. That's what he does well. He's tall, he's lean, he's got quick feet, quick hands, and he has been disrupting him all night.
That was the second sack of the night for Tulane. UConn came in having given up the 6th most in FBS this year.
But we're going to go with the logic in that situation. You're a running football team. Why are you going to drop back and try to throw a football? Run your play action. Give yourself a chance to be able to freeze those linebackers and over the top, but they don't. I don't get that call.
Now on second down and 15, they go to Ron Johnson. He gets 2 before he's tripped up by Brandon LeBeau, and Tulane seemed to be waiting for that.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody could agree with that one. That mystifies me right there. You're 11 minutes left to go in the game. You're down 2 scores. You can't. You've got to be more effective than that on second and 15. You've got to be able to have some. They've got to have a trick play in their arsenal that they should have used in the second quarter. And they can't do it now because Tulane's going to be expecting it.
Fox and Bradley.
Confusion with the young kids again.
Split out wide right. 1 second on the play clock. They get it off. Heavy pressure, and it's incomplete. Looking for Bradley over the middle. Tulane brought the house.
And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You're beating them with 4 in regular downs. Why not bring everybody? They went to man coverage, and they didn't have a chance. That was a poorly executed series, but I think obviously in the end that goes back to the coach as well, and offensive coordinator Mike Cummins need to do a better job of giving them a better chance to succeed with what he's trying to call.
Justin Wayne on to kick after the incomplete pass. This toward the corner and out of bounds just before the pylon. And the spot is at the 3-yard line. Beautifully done by the freshman from Wilmington, North Carolina. October 17th, 1989. After the telecast for Game 3 of the World Series, Giants A's started. The ground began to shake under Candlestick Park. A 6.9 magnitude earthquake rolled through, and the Bay Area would pull together. Baseball took a back seat for 10 days. ESPN Films 30 for 30 presents the day the series stopped. Brought to you by Infinity, Tuesday at 10 Eastern on ESPN and Watch ESPN. Candlestick Park, the home for Joe Montana for so long, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame quarterback, and his son Nick under center. Trapped deep, he gives it away. Lezedrick Thompson, second effort. Nicely done.
Well, Lezedrick's showing a little speed out on the edge. He's known for that straight-ahead running ability, but look at him get around the edge in the corner there, getting the extra yards and the first down. Something really needed to get this drive going. They need to sustain here. UConn's down 2 scores. If Tulane keeps the ball, they've got no chance. And so here, first downs is what matters.
Right back to the run. Thompson into the second level. And finally met a big pickup, another first down for the redshirt sophomore from Louisiana.
Just like the energy of what he's bringing. Right up the middle, just determined as a run as you could ever want to see. He's not going to come down. Got to like that. That's how you lead right there, in my opinion. It's not about what you say and the rah-rah. It's about going out and fighting and playing hard every snap and inspiring your teammates to do the same.
Gain of 24, longest of his career. No to the left side, right side a little bit more friendly. Third straight carry for Thompson. Tulane's going to keep it on the ground here. They want to run out the clock, but it's even more to their benefit if UConn can't stop them.
And I was just fixing to say before I saw Dontrell Hilliard running in the game, Lezedrick needs a break, man. I don't care who you are. Those were 3 hard runs right there, and he got a little relief. It's well-deserved.
Max Bretos, Jonathan Coachman will have Sports Center coming up after the finish of this one, where one of these teams will have their first American win of the year.
Start, offense, number 68, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Junior Arturo Uzdevenis, the left tackle. 7 penalties now against Tulane. So Curtis Johnson said, yeah, the last 2 weeks as they came off a bye week, last played a couple weeks ago, we brought in refs, had them at practice, told guys not only what they were doing wrong, but why it was wrong, and it hasn't really been alleviated.
You know what that means? That's wasted money. That's what that is.
Dante Butler giving the ball here on second down as the clock continues to run.
Well,
Much to Tulane's joy. And you know what? They've spread out the carries very well between Beatty, Hilliard, Thompson, and Butler.
And that's exactly what Bob Diacos had told us. That's what he was afraid of. Those guys, they stay fresh. They rotate them in and out, and they're all so equally deadly. Obviously, Beatty the one with the speed in the open field, but we see Lezedrick getting those hard yards as well and showing that great passion and energy when he's running. They all offer so much different, but they all gain yardage, get plays, get first downs, which is what they need in this situation.
$12 yards to go. Montana has it tipped at the line, and it's incomplete. Kenton Adeyemi, the junior from Wethersfield, Connecticut, hands up on the rush. Importantly for UConn, it stops the clock. So UConn's going to get the ball back here, but that last drive, just midway through the fourth, they burned 2 timeouts, one with plenty of time on the play clock.
Yeah, and this is just not what their offense specializes in.
High kick toward the sideline. This will be good field position for the Huskies. They're going to take this up not far from midfield. Bob Diaco and company looking for an answer. Back in New Orleans, the Huskies, looking at the moon, have a lot to howl about tonight. Their offense has been anemic, down by 9. 7-12 here, fourth quarter. Mike Cousins, Brian Kinchin with you at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans. Chandler Whitmer, quarterback tonight for UConn, just has not had enough time to get the job done.
Well, this is not where they're best. When they've got to make up ground, they're 2 scores down. But I always say that the best offense that any team has is the one that has nothing to lose. And when you're down 2 scores with 7 left to play on the clock, this is where you'll get out their plays and run plays that you normally wouldn't during the process of the game.
Play action. Whitmer gobbled up. And he had no shot to move on that play.
Well, Tulane brings everybody right there. And he didn't have a chance. They knew they was going to have to throw the football, but smart play, obviously. He's outside the tackle box, needs to dump it near the line of scrimmage to avoid the loss. But doesn't do it, wasn't able to do it.
And a loss of 5. It's been a heavy dosage of Ron Johnson in the backfield after we saw Arkell Newsome a ton in the first half. One-on-one coverage down the sideline, incomplete. First time they've looked Noel Thomas's way tonight.
Pass is incomplete. Intended for
Great coverage, Lorenzo Doss.
Whitmer does a good job of putting the ball where it needs to be and gives him a chance. It's a back shoulder high ball. He knows he has the height advantage right there. 6'1" versus 5'11", but he just can't bring it down. Crucial drop right there.
50% on third down for the Huskies tonight. Well better than the 30% they've averaged coming into the game. For the first time tonight, all sorts of time. Now nowhere to go. Whitmer drops it, and down he goes. Smothering secondary by Tulane.
Well, that is the old cliche of the coverage sack. They rushed 3 defensive linemen, dropped everybody back in zone. They had to make up 15 yards, kept everything underneath them. Chandler Whitmer had nowhere to go with the football.
And a great job by defensive end Royce LaFrance. His second sack of the night. He's also forced a safety. Fair catch called for. And the ball at the 30-yard line into the hands of Teddy Veal. Get your NFL Sunday started on ESPN, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Snickers. Chris Berman and the gang provide all the latest news and updates from stadiums around the league right up until kickoff. And before you set your fantasy lineups, our experts have the latest news, injury reports, and they'll give predictions on top performers on Fantasy Football Now, presented by Papa John's, 11 a.m. on ESPN2, and both shows also available live on Watch ESPN. UConn in a perilous spot here. 5:38 to go, 2-score game, and only 1 timeout. And don't necessarily expect Tulane to put the ball in the air like they did last drive.
I can't imagine that Eric Price, the offensive coordinator, is even contemplating that. He knows all he has to do is be conservative, run the football, try to get yardages. If they get the first down, they do fine. If not, they punt it away. They know that UConn has a lot of ground to make up with 2 scores, and that offense is really not possible. But I know that CJ right there, we get a good look at him as well. Curtis Johnson, the head coach. You always play worst case scenarios in your head as a coach. And so it's always a close game, even though we look at it on the outside looking in and can't possibly see that.
As Edric Thompson ran that for a first down on their last drive. Nowhere to go. Right back up the middle with the sophomore from Louisiana.
Yeah, he'll more than likely wait to that third down call the timeout before the punt. You only got 1. No reason to use it after first or second down. They know they don't convert. He uses the timeout. And it's as effective as he can be, even though it might not help. Well, they had the two tight ends on the field. They've had them on there all night, and they've never run play action. Obviously, they're probably not going to do it here, but it'd be a nice call if he decided to do that.
They do not. Give it back to Thompson, churning his legs. Comes up shy of the first down, and then Bob Diaco hopping onto the field.
Third and final timeout, UConn. It will be a 30-second timeout.
Exactly what they needed. That's about as animated as Bob Diaco has been tonight to get out there. They scored in the first quarter, but since then, moving the ball has not been very easy, averaging 264 yards a game, ranking them 121st in the country. So just scoring this year, moving the ball, has been troublesome.
Well, just talking to him the other day, just on the phone in our conference call, I like his mentality of what he's trying to do. He's trying to do it the right way. He said he's going to do things right by his players. It might not be wins quick and wins early, but he's trying to teach them how to be young men, how to be good football players, dependable, accountable. He's trying to do it the right way, and he's not worried about the external. He called it scoreboard success.
Deshaun Fox takes it at the 21-yard line for UConn. Last time the Huskies scored, there were 7 minutes, 2 seconds to play in the first quarter. That was a 44-yard field goal by Bobby Puyol. And nothing doing since. Don't forget, Sports Center comes your way next. Max Bretos, Jonathan Coachman, a look around the world of college football today. Tulane, if they can hang on here for the final 4 minutes, picks up their first conference win of the year. 1-1 would be their record in the American after being a bowl team a year ago. Whitmer throwing first down, goes over the middle. Jeremy Davis up to get it and head to the 35-yard line. They pick up 6. And Brian, this is going to have to be a quick strike here.
Yeah, they're going to have to really get on the board quick to be able to give themselves a chance, obviously, with an onside kick if they can get it back and score. But as you just talked about how long it's been since they've scored just a field goal.
And there's an open spot. That zone defense you mentioned earlier has been helpful, but Davis finds a seam.
Well, again, we go back to my philosophy of the best offense any team has to offer, and it's right here because they have nothing to lose. They're going to call plays that they would not normally call under regular circumstances. Quarterback's loosened up. He's not as concerned about picks or anything bad happening because the game's lost. So he's able to make throws more confidently.
And he zings it across the middle, finding Deshaun Fox.
And here we see it, just winging it in there without a thought. And even the offensive coordinator, Mike Cummings, is going to call plays he normally wouldn't. But he steps up here confidently, knows he's got the pocket intact, makes a good throw, good catch.
And after a gain of 19, fastball goes back to Davis, who takes it out of bounds.
And then everybody watching it goes, well, where was this during the first 3.5 quarters? But that's what I'm trying to tell you. The different philosophy of knowing the game is over, it creates so much of a different attitude among the players and the coaches, especially offensively. It's a little bit different defensively, but offensively, when you make big plays, they're more noticeable. Like what Tulane is doing here is the exact opposite, where they've gotten lulled a little bit defensively, thinking this game is over. And they shouldn't do that. They can't do that. No one can ever do that.
Eyes on Davis the whole time. Whitmer goes back to his leading target. Perry Nickerson wraps him up. So this moves the ball inside the red zone for the first time tonight. Unfortunately, UConn has been the most inept team there in the country. Looking for Sean McQuillan.
Well, I was talking earlier about Curtis Johnson worrying about this game not being over ever, as we were talking about from our outside perspective, that it was. Well, this is what coaches think about can happen when they see the offense move the football. But here they're going to take the chance to be able to kick the the 3 points that they're going to need no matter what. It's a smart play by Bob Diaco, and try to get those 3 points that they'll need.
So Bobby Puyol is on for the kick. In the red zone, the Huskies have only gotten points 54% of the time this year. And Puyol swings it way outside. Woes continue for the team from the Nutmeg State.
Still the right call, though. That's what you should do right there. You take the 3 points. You have to have 2 scores either way. You take the chance of getting that risky field goal out of the way early. Less pressure on the kicker, but obviously it got to him right there, because if he makes the kick, you still got the onside. Then you've got to get to the end zone. It works out the same way. I like that decision. And Tulane's basically going to come on and take a knee. And when I get back to the comment about Bob Diaco and what he's trying to do with this football team, he talked about scoreboard success, and he talked about how the players look to that. And when they don't see that happening of what he's trying to do, it makes it very, very difficult, because he wants to do it the right way. But when the kids don't see the result.
Second charge, timeout Tulane. It will be a 30-second timeout.
It's very difficult to continue that philosophy until they start to buy into it. Understand, it's not about scoreboard success. It's about doing the right things fundamentally as a player, as a man. And then once you do that, the byproduct is that you win games, you score points, and you do the things that kids love doing and enjoy doing, that everybody wants to see. But he's sticking with what he knows is right, and that's his. And I love that philosophy. And a lot of coaches profess that, but he's actually trying to live that out in what he's doing at UConn.
Now on the other side, Nick Montana getting his first start of the season. Tanner Lee, a redshirt freshman from Destrehan, Louisiana, was questionable all week, didn't practice very much. In Montana, who only played the last possession of their last game 2 weeks ago, a loss at Rutgers, tonight did exactly what they needed. Gave them leadership and gave them certainty in the passing game.
Yeah, and I like the play. When I saw him play in the game 2 weeks ago, their last ball game, and the decisions he made, in my mind when they were contemplating who was going to play and not sure, my mind was pretty clear. And even though I'm not on the inside, I don't see the everydays. When I saw what he did, 5 for 5, smart underneath, did not throw the ball away, did not throw interceptions. And I think it was a smart choice. And I think that they're more comfortable. Eric Price, the offensive coordinator, is more comfortable having a guy who he knows is what's going to do with the football and not risk it when he shouldn't.
So Dad, Joe Montana, who won one of his 4 Super Bowl titles here in New Orleans. Mom Jen on hand to watch for Montana, who started his career at Washington, went to Mount San Antonio College in California, and now is going to lead Tulane to win number 2 of the season. Last year, a team that was 7-6.
I think you look at the flip side and Curtis Johnson and what they're trying to do here at Tulane. We talked about it earlier, the 7-6 record last year, a new conference, young team. I really believe if they get to 4 or 5 wins, which would really, in my mind, be a good season because of the competition they have coming up, the new stadium, the new conference, it's going to help them with recruiting. They're going to have nothing to do but go up, 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 and up as long as they're able to get some wins, because wins are what kids really see when it comes to recruiting. But the facilities they have here are really top-notch. The coaching staff, we love them here at Tulane. They're a great group of guys trying to do the right thing, just like Bob Diaco and him on the other side of the football.
So Joe Montana watches his son Nick lead Tulane to its 2nd win of the year. Their first ever American Conference game at home is a good one. And Tulane 1-1 in the American. The final, the Tulane Green Wave 12, the UConn Huskies 3. Mike Cousins, Brian Kinch, and our crew saying thanks for tuning in. That's all from New Orleans. And now let's send it to SportsCenter.